Let's talk about one of the big stories of this week, and that's big tech. The focus continuing here. And this week, we're going to hear from Apple and Amazon, both stocks showing gains of over 50% so far this year. Analysts adjusting some of their price targets ahead of the results that we got. When it comes to Amazon, Credit Suisse, Wedbush, both boosting their price targets, while Citi keeping the tech giant as one of their top picks across the internet sector. Well, here to discuss what we could expect, we want to bring in Santosh Rao, Manhattan Venture Partners Head of Research. Santosh, it's great to see you again. So just give me a sense first before we get into the look ahead for what we're going to hear from this week. Last week, we heard from Meta, from Google, from Microsoft. What's your sense just about where these tech giants stand and whether or not the fundamentals hold up to their current valuations?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think last week's earnings were very good. They showed that digital advertising is doing great. There's a lot of demand for AI is, of course, the big kicker for both of them, most of them, and for also going forward. But in general, the setup is perfect for the big tech companies, and they sit in the sweet spot of where the spending is and where it's going to be down the road. So definitely a good setup for Apple and Amazon reporting on Thursday. So I think overall the setup is good, the tailwind is good. So we saw good earnings from both of them, good reports from both of them, and we'll continue to see them this Thursday as well.
But Santosh, I want to ask you specifically about Apple. What are your expectations with regard to the company, and particularly when you think about just smartphone sales and some of the sluggishness that we've seen there?
Yeah. So having said that, both companies are good. I like both of them. I like Apple more than Amazon. I think Apple has many things going for it. Right now, July is seasonally a slow quarter. September is a big quarter. The iPhone 15 is going to come out. But there are some issues this time around because there was some the slowdown in production and shipments and then push out of some premium models. So I think you're going to see a little bit of kind of disruption of sorts in the September quarter. So you might see weakness there. But overall, it's plus or minus here and there. Net on a secular basis, Apple is still strong. It has a number of levers to pull. The services business is doing very well. It'll continue to grow, continue to execute. And as more people come on board, you're going to see the services revenues go up and up more and more. So I think Apple has a lot of, and then you have China. China is opening up very well. I think from some data show that they took some market share in China, and then India is a bright spot. That's the next growth frontier for them. So there are a lot of things to look forward to. They deserve the benefit of doubt. You don't bet against Apple because they always come through. Yes, they have run up quite a bit, 50% according to I think the last I saw. So it's pretty strong. I think it's time. It can take a pause. But no, in no way is the story broken. It's a long way to go. Apple will continue to execute and will do well.
Santosh, you mentioned China there. Curious, how do you see the souring relations between Washington and Beijing? How big of a risk or what does that impact potentially look like for Apple?
Yes, I think that is a big issue, and hopefully it'll be resolved well. And that's why they are diversifying. They opened in India. They're going to produce iPhones there. So they are diversifying. They're spreading their bets, and so they're not totally focused, but they are pretty deeply entrenched in China. So it's going to take a long time to get out of that. So they have to walk a delicate balance and hope that the relations stay and we don't break off badly. But at this point, looks like the business relationship is still going on. The political winds are blowing hard, really hard. But I think it hasn't come to a point where it's going to totally disrupt their business in China. So yes, it's a threat. It's a lingering threat. Has been there for a while. The stock still traded up despite that. But there's something that needs to be watched going forward.
Santosh, I want to quickly ask you about Amazon. What are you expecting when it reports this week, particularly when we look at AWS?
Yeah, I think that is the biggest issue with the Amazon. That's the story. I mean, the growth engine is sputtering, and that is a big issue with Amazon. It was really driving. That was their crown jewel for this time. So let's see where that goes, and it's definitely going to slow down. I mean, both companies are going to be inline numbers, and their earnings reports are going to be inline, so that's not going to be a surprise. But there is going to be slowdown in terms of the mix. AWS is now going to be 10% year-over-year growth, as opposed to well over 30% a while back, or 16%. So I think it's definitely sequentially coming down, and that's a concern. But the ad business is growing, and with Amazon, the big concern is the consumer. The discretionary spending is soft. To the extent things slow down in the second half, if we have the recession that people talk about, hopefully it's not that deep, it's short and shallow. But if it slows down things and spending goes down, I think that has an impact on Amazon. So there are some issues. Plus also I think Amazon is a work in progress in many ways. They're still rationalizing their costs. They're bringing everything under control. So it's still going on. That side of the business, the cost side of the business. On the revenue side, they need to still work on that. There are some headwinds that they need to work through. But I think they took their cuts before, they took their hits before, so now they're coming up. So they might go a little bit here and there, but overall, the trend is going to be up because these are great companies.
Santosh, how realistic do you think the street is being right now about AI and the immediate capabilities? Because we did see some of that concern reflected in Microsoft after they reported, when they came out and said that their rollout of the capabilities, it's going to be gradual. Do you think the street has realistic expectations?
The street is betting on the future. We haven't seen any material revenues as such. It's going to take some time, but we know the potential. It's going to be great. And every company across the board is investing in that. So you're going to see the benefits down the road. But by the time you see the benefits, the stocks might have run up already. So I think it's time to take a call at this point. We know the potential. We know what it's going to do, how disruptive it's going to be, the creative destruction it's going to cause across the board. I think that's in there. So now, unless you have a strategy, and that's one thing against Apple, they still haven't really clarified what their AI strategy is, generative AI strategy is, so to speak. And Amazon also, to some extent, is a laggard there. So you need to have a clear vision. The street will reward you because that is the future, whichever way you see. But so far, we haven't seen it in the numbers. It's down the road. It's the potential that you're betting on. And let's see. I mean, the early signs are that technology is great. It's going to have wonders on the productivity side, which is what they need in the face of wages going up and labor shortages and all that stuff. You need anything that will help productivity, and AI will.
All
help
right.
in productivity.
Well, hopefully, it definitely, yes, will help with productivity. Hopefully, we all get to keep our jobs in light of that. Santosh Rao, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.